All right, welcome back. Today we're talking about the hybrid sales advantage, reimagining B2B sales. And I'm so excited to introduce a beautiful sister in Christ, a client of mine, Dawn Grooters. Dawn is an industry icon in relationship driven B2B sales, starting out as a very successful field rep before mastering the power of inside sales after the tragic loss of her son. Having generated well over $1 million in sales, she's the creator of the Hybrid Sales Advantage, which is the gold standard in helping burned out professionals, sales professionals, literally double their sales while working less so they can actually experience work life balance. Now she equips those sales professionals and companies with the same proven strategies so they work smarter, sell more, and have a life worth living. Let's welcome Dawn to the show.
Thank you, Judy, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. The the experience you have and the method that you created just blew me away from the first time we talked because
Mm,
I know having been in outside sales and
mm,
straddling, inside and outside, this is just such going to be a great conversation. So, how about would you mind starting with your background
yeah.
prior to leading this hybrid sales movement?
Yeah, yeah. So I started in the industry that I work in as a buyer. So I bought for a chain of Hallmark stores for about 6 years. And at that point, I was ready to move into another area. I thought, I had worked with several sales reps, and I'm like, that maybe might be something I would want to do. And 3 years into being a buyer, I had a conversation with a sales rep and had said, maybe that would be something I would do. And then 3 years later, she called me and said, hey, this territory is open. Do you think you'd be interested? Applied for that job, got the job as a field sales rep for the state of Iowa. I did that for about 3 years. And then one of my sons did pass away unexpectedly. I was out on the road when that happened. And at that point, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't go out on the road. And I was also then pregnant with my daughter, and I was not going to do it. So I went to the management team at that time and said, I'm not going to go out on the road. And they said, well, we're thinking about starting an inside sales team. Would you be interested in that? I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. It allowed me to be at home with my kids. It allowed me to continue to heal and process everything that would happen and kind of pick up our life from what had just happened. And so I started. I had a phone, I had a computer, I had a customer list. Didn't really know what I was doing, but started to make phone calls and started to make up, like I made a lot of mistakes, but I started to figure out something that worked. And within a couple of years, I was writing $1 million a year on the phone with customers. And so that I just did that for about 7 years, just very content in that. I was bringing in an income for our family and being able to be at home with my family. And then moved into some key accounts. And then in 2020, I got let go from my position with a company. And that's when I started this business. And all of that experience what has led to this hybrid sales advantage.
Mm. First of all,
Yeah,
I'm so sorry for your loss, and
thank you.
I can imagine, especially with a baby inside,
Hmm.
that's just tough. So you know me enough to know
Yeah.
I'm a crier, so I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's
me
just
too.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Um, 2020, you were let go.
Hmm.
Did that have to do with COVID? I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of sales professionals at that time. My working B2B, it was going out to retailers. So a lot of sales professionals, we were going out to retailers. Well, retailers couldn't have people in their stores, and so retailers were canceling orders and things like that. And it just got to a point where I had told my husband the week before, like when it was just starting. I said, this is something that could really change my role, and I could end up losing my job. And a week later I did. So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because 2020, you were let go.
Hmm.
That when you launched your business, and take us through the mindset of
Yeah.
now I don't have this, as you said, you were content there, but now God's opened up. Some could say it was a loss, but you
Hmm.
turned that lemon into lemonade. So tell us about
Yeah.
the thought process there.
Yeah. So it was actually like probably about a half a year before that, 6 months before that, I really felt like God was stirring something in me to start a business. I had walked out from a meeting and I know exactly where I was at. I was at a trade show. I walked out from a meeting and I really felt and thought that God was saying, be prepared to walk away. And
Mhm.
I kept thinking, like, really walk away from this job that I had had for the last 12 years, this company I had been with for the last 12 years, to really walk away. But I felt that very strong inside me, like God was starting to stir something in me. And so then I went to a women's retreat a month later, and it was filled with these women entrepreneurs that are godly women that I was just like, oh, he's really stirring something in me. And so I thought, okay, God, I don't know what this looks like, but I'm going to start this process. And so I actually applied for an LLC and didn't have a lot of money to start a business. So there was a university in the area that they do law, and so they do one like do take on law cases pro bono. And so they said setting up an LLC was one of those kind of cases. So I applied for it and they said, well, we're not going to be able to take your case on till the next spring. And I was like, okay, that's fine. God's shutting a door right now. And so then a week later, they called me back and said, actually, we have space for you now. And the law student was actually the same name as my oldest son. And I was like, okay, God, this is obviously something you are opening doors for. So my LLC was actually in existence of October of 2019. And then I kind of was like, now what do I do with this? I have this all set up, so I'm ready to go whenever that door opens. And then COVID came, and I'm actually really thankful that the company let me go because I think in that moment during COVID, it would have been really easy to hang on to something comfortable. It would have been really easy to just say, I'm just going to stay right here and not make this bold move. My husband and I had talked about me leaving in May of 2020. That was our plan. But in March of 2020, I got let go. And so I think that was like God saying, you're not going to leave on your own. I'm going to force you out. And so that's how it all kind of got started. And I had sales reps and I had vendors in the industry calling me saying, you know how to talk to people on the phone. We can't go into stores. We can't work with these retailers like we normally would. How do I do this? And that's when I was like, okay, I know how I can help these people. And that's
Yeah.
when,
That's amazing. Yet
yeah.
another story of what the enemy meant for bad, the Lord
Mm,
God used for good. He
yeah.
allowed all these things. And I love that God stirred you. And it's so interesting when you account this meeting that you walked out and you're like, yeah, this is not forever.
Yeah.
Um, the same thing happened to me when I jumped into this business coaching. I had a very cushy job, in-house
Mm,
counsel. I loved it. And the way things turned out, it's just like there was one meeting when I looked up to God. And I'm like, this is it. I
mhm,
think you're telling me now's the time. This is it. So it's just so interesting how God
mm,
grabs those moments. He grabs us
yeah.
in those moments. So good. Um, I want to talk before you share your actual hybrid sales advantage framework.
Mhm,
I want to really emphasize something so to our listeners who may not understand. So field reps, outside sales,
mm,
typically, like, I was inside sales and outside sales, and I don't know about the hybrid sales back in the day because many moons ago, decades ago. But for outside sales, you're either out or in.
mhm, yeah.
And the outside sales, the whole thing is to go in store and talk to
Yep.
people. Lots of driving, lots of time spent on the road,
Yeah.
traffic, eating garbage because you don't have time. So
Yep.
so it sounds like that's what I mean. You are that icon saying, look,
Mhm,
it's not just about spending your life in the car.
mhm.
It's a better way. So, did you realize how disruptive your approach was at that time?
Yeah, not necessarily. I thought it would maybe people would quickly understand the difference or the impact using your phone and changing the way we would normally do sales. I thought they would understand the impact quicker. And it's not. It's definitely been something where it has been disruptive. And when you are part of an industry that has done things the same way for a long period of time, and you come in with a new idea, it's not always accepted. And I know that it's hard to get people to understand why this works, But once they understand it and once they do it, I know what it's going to do for them. But it's hard to get people to understand that. And so I think uh, it's continually saying the same message over and over and over again for them to understand. But those that do, the top performers that are like, I need to scale, I need some help. Can you help me do that? Those are the ones that are like, oh, why? Why didn't I do this so many years ago? And I wish I would have, when I was a field sales rep, I wish I would have had these tools and these skills back then, but I didn't. I had to walk through all of that, the years and years of that, where now I feel like God has just poured that out of me from all the things that I've learned, that He's now pouring that out and saying, well, now you can help others, just like
Yeah.
it says in the Bible, like you can help others with everything you've experienced.
So good, so good. So share with us the hybrid sales advantage framework
Mhm.
where we have this blend of kind of inside and outside sales
Yeah.
approaches.
Yeah. So the framework is it's three steps basically that we work through. First, because you have a sales rep has hundreds and hundreds of accounts. So a lot of the times, if you're a field sales rep, you are not able to get to all of those accounts. You maybe work with like 25% of those accounts, which means 75% never really hear from you, which that's a significant portion of business. Maybe it's not your top volume business, but it's a significant portion of your business. So, in step one, what we do is we teach you the inside sales skills. A lot of field reps say, I don't like talking on the phone. I don't know what to say. I don't know what questions to ask. So we go through that first. I want you to learn how to speak to your customers on the phone, what questions you should be asking them, how to research them so you're not going into the phone call cold, and how to really master those inside sales skills. Then step two is we take your customer list and we say, okay, here's the customers that you should go visit because we know this is where you're going to really make impact with those customers and generate a lot of sales. These are customers you should go visit. These are customers where maybe you do a little bit of both. So you visit them less frequently, but you also are calling them in between. And then here's customers that maybe are really far from you that maybe you don't need to drive to, but you could call instead. Or here's some customers that are maybe a little bit lower in volume, that these would be customers that you could still connect with via phone rather than driving or virtual meeting or texting or some other email communication, however that works. So that's what the step two is. And then step three, you can't do this well without using a CRM. And so step three is implementing and teaching you how to use a CRM daily so that you are able to look up any one of your hundreds of accounts and at any time know where you last left your communication with them and where they're at in the sales cycle. So we put all three of those steps together, and that's hybrid sales advantage.
Yeah, just so powerful. And for women listening not familiar with outside sales, they're
Mhm.
probably like, "What? Like why would you not prefer to get on the phone than talking to people?" But
Yeah.
like you said, it's when you're used to doing something one way,
Yeah.
you can't see what is so obvious to others, and that diversity of different service-based businesses is why I decided to coach service-based businesses across the board because
Yeah.
you can look industry to industry and say,
Yeah.
"Ooh, you're doing that? That's pretty awesome, right?" So
Yeah.
good. So good.
Yeah.
Um, talk to me about how you handle the pushback because
Mhm.
there are listeners who have businesses that what the services they're providing, their best client may not even be aware that they have a
Mhm.
problem. They're content. They're the status quo. So how do you recommend dealing with pushback or even it's an aspect of educating
Yeah.
your audience on what's best for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
wagging your finger. How do you handle that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I do focus more on the education part of it. I think if they don't know they have a problem, one, you have to educate them that this is actually a problem. Like you're feeling burnt out, that's a problem. Maybe you're so used to being burnt out, you don't even realize it's a problem. But there is a better way to live. You don't have to try and keep everything in your mind. And so it's educating them like this actually is a problem. There's a better way. And here's even small things that you can do to change that. And if you can take away something small and say, hey, you know what, that actually worked for me to call this customer and check in on them and ask them, did they need a reorder? That actually worked. Oh, maybe I could really level this up and use it. And so it's educating them on a variety of different things, their problem and how they're living, but then also what the solution looks like for them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say that these people are burned out
Mm,
and kind of shining a beacon on what your life really looks like and what you
yeah.
wish you could change if you could wave a wand, and you provide
Yes.
the wand, which is so good. All right.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one of your best client testimonials, but right
Mm,
now I would love to talk just for a moment about our work together. It's so
yeah.
interesting because we booked this call months ago.
Yes.
And then I think 2 weeks ago, uh,
Yeah.
you reached out and we began working together. So talk to me about why you decided to work with me and what's been your experience, just generally speaking.
Yeah, so you entered into my world and as a faith-based business coach, you entered into my world. And I was working on podcast guesting to grow my business. And so we had researched your podcast and I started listening and I really resonated with a lot of the things that you said. And so as I continued to listen, even though we had this interview scheduled a long time ago, I continued to listen to what you had to say. And a couple weeks ago, I was feeling stuck. I was really feeling stuck in some things and I've had ideas and different ways to do things, but I really felt stuck. And I knew that I needed some help to get out of that. And so because I had been listening to your podcasts and things like that, I knew that you might be that right person. So we scheduled the call and we talked through some things. And I did know that you were the right person to help me get unstuck. You have been very helpful in just asking the right questions, making me think. And I do love what you say when you put your eyes on my business because I'm so close to it. This month, it'll be 6 years in my business. And I am so close to it that sometimes I have a hard time seeing where I'm lacking and or things that I'm doing that I should maybe be doing different or saying things differently. And so having another set of eyes on it for someone that you trust, that someone you're able to say, okay, I think she has my best interest at heart. Here's what her recommendations are. And then you use that to move forward.
Yeah. And there was a some urgency to
Yes.
that problem. And I think that specificity will help the ladies listening to really get it. So you
Mhm.
were presented with an amazing opportunity,
Yeah.
but you didn't quite know how to optimize that opportunity or maximize it. So can you go into
Yeah.
just a little bit of detail on what that opportunity was and how we together prepared you well for that and the
Yeah,
result?
so there was an opportunity where I got to be able to be on a panel speaking to several field sales reps in what they were doing. And I have been in business almost 6 years now. I have tried so many different things, so many different things. But what was going to actually resonate and what was going to work? What should my messaging be on that? And so I really struggled. I didn't know where to go from there. I had tried so many different things and things hadn't worked in the past that I needed to think about it differently. And so when I reached out to you, normally we probably didn't go through the normal process that you would normally do, but I was like, here's the opportunity. This is what my priority is. Can you help me with this? And you said, yes, let's do this. And so we met a couple times to go over the different things that I had already prepared, how to change that out, how to shift some of the ways I was communicating it, and then be able to feel confident going into that panel and saying, this is what I do, this is how I help, here's maybe the struggles, and this is how I can help you.
Yeah, I think you said there were nearly 100 reps there on that
Hmm.
virtual panel call.
Yeah.
And one of the key things we did was, remember, I was like, okay, this is a sales opportunity. So
Hmm.
let's figure out what's the call to action and how do we back into that? What are we going to be talking to tee up that, oh my goodness, like you're taking them through everything they need so that they can't
Hmm.
not say yes so that
Yeah.
they must say yes. So,
Mhm.
and the result of that was a number of people saying yes and working with you, right?
Yes.
You got many hands raised, right?
Yes, and several, just people asking more questions, which honestly, I love that part of it because it is new for our industry. This kind of thing doesn't normally happen in the industry with the sales reps that are there. And so a lot of people asking questions like, what does this really look like? And how can I do this? And I'm not techie. Can I figure this out? Like all of the questions. And so me being able to get on calls with those sales reps, just explaining this is what this process looks like. It's not like anything else in our industry in continuing education or anything like that. So it's different. And so for them to feel confident to say, okay, this is different, but I like it and I think I'm ready to be able to do this.
Yeah. One of the most exciting things that you had told me was, hey, Jude, I have clients signing and it feels so good. And there are a number of principals,
Mm,
right? They own companies that have inside sales teams or outside hybrid,
mhm.
whatever sales teams, and they are interested. And we're going to be having conversations. So, so much
Yeah.
opportunity from properly preparing for one speaking gig. So
Yeah.
that's powerful. So,
Yeah.
one last question about this. What did you find most surprising or maybe refreshing? What has been the best part of our working together in all of these 2 weeks? Like
Yeah.
how
It's
would you
only 2 weeks. Yeah. So I would say just I love the Voxer availability to you. Like the other day, messaged you a question. I'm like, this question came up. I'm not sure how to approach it. And just because I'm so used to in all of my sales career, whether it was outside sales or inside sales, selling a product. That I felt very confident. Selling a service is a little bit different. And so you are used to selling services in that way. And so I think your your methods and the advice you had given me is a little bit different than I maybe have approached it over this past 6 years. And so I think that's been one of the surprising things is just a different perspective that I haven't thought about that is changing my thinking in the way I think about offering my services to clients.
Mm. Do you feel emboldened? Do you feel more powerful now than you did 2 weeks ago? I'm just curious.
Yeah, yes, I do. I do. Yeah.
And how? Can you put words to that? And then we'll move on.
Yeah, I think that and you talk a lot about this, about being an authority in your industry or in whatever realm you're in, being an authority in that. And I would honestly say I never felt like that. I didn't feel like that was the case. Yes, I have experience and stuff, but not an authority. And when I sit back and look, and you've made me look like there's not another there's no one else doing this method. There's no one else in my industry that is uh, offering this kind of education or this kind of training or helping with CRMs. Like, there's no one else doing this. And that does put me in authority position and the work around it as well, like with the mindset and just seeing where God has put me. Like, it really did make me go back and think, like, God has perfectly in his plan orchestrated all of these things. Yes, they've been hard. Don't get me wrong. It has all been hard, but I do think there was all of his plan was aligned to this point and part of my calling. And so I think that I looked back at that like this is just something that this is what God's got for you right now. And he's taking everything you've learned from the time you were a buyer to outside sales to losing your son to inside sales, all of that. He's used all of that. And it's kind of that almost redemption moment, I feel like, that is starting to all click in my mind and my heart and my head. And yeah,
Hallelujah. So good. Ah, he uses
yeah,
all things for his glory and our good.
yes,
Hallelujah. Right.
absolutely.
Well, you mentioned CRM,
Hmm.
and it's so interesting because ladies, if you do not have a CRM,
Hmm.
go get one this week. Okay. They
Yes.
don't have to be super expensive. If you're like, Judy, I don't know what you're talking about, then DM me over on Instagram, CRM, and let's have
Yeah.
a discussion. We'll have a discussion over there in in the DMs. But let's talk for a second about tools,
Yeah.
tech that really maximize selling hours. Because
Hmm.
that's key. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So a CRM is a customer relationship management tool. And so what it does, I specifically use HubSpot. That's where that's what I use in my business. They do have a free version to get started, and I used that for about a year and a half. So I didn't even have to pay anything at that point. But that CRM manages all your customers and clients. So your leads, your customers, it manages it all from their contact information. So what's their first name? What company are they with? Or do they own? What's their phone number, email, all of that information. But then it also manages your communication with them. So for you to generate sales, you have to do sales activities. Is it phone calls? Is it emails? Is it virtual meetings? Is it meeting them in person? What is it? Those sales activities, that CRM is where you house all that information. So at any point, you can type in their name and you can pull up their information, and you would be able to see how many times you've talked to them, how many times they've emailed you or you've emailed them, how many times they've opened your emails, clicked on any of the links you've had. You can manage all of that. So at any time, you know where you're at in the sales process with each customer lead client that you have. And so that is really important so that you're not trying to store it up in your head. You're not writing it on sticky notes and you're not putting it in a notebook and you're like, oh man, I forgot to follow up with that person. It manages, you can set tasks, it manages all of that process for you. And it's just a great tool that you can pull up at the click of a button on your phone or on your computer to see where you are at with all of your clients and leads.
Yeah. And so that is really its own system
Yes.
that keeps you organized. Um, I'm curious with your clients, but with mine, too many fly by the seat of their pants
Yes.
because they've been able to with success.
Yes.
But you can get to six figures messy. There's no
Yeah.
way you're getting to the million messy.
Yeah.
Right. Do
Yeah,
you find that as
absolutely.
well?
Yes, absolutely. You can do so much, but then you're spinning your wheels most of the time because you're like, okay, well, what about this? Or I dropped this opportunity and this could have got me to that million, but I dropped this opportunity or I lost this sale because I forgot to follow up and they ordered something else. Or so it's very, very messy. And that's what I think causes a lot of the overwhelm is they're trying to remember all of these things or write it down or find their paper and they don't have it in front of them when you can easily pull it up at the click of a button. And so, yes, does it take a little bit of work to get that set up? Yes, but it is 110 times worth it because once you get it set up, it is so easy to maintain and so easy to be able to have everything all in one place that it's not sitting and stored up in your mind.
Yeah, that is a real life example of
Mm,
slow down to speed up.
yes.
It's really not that hard. It's a matter of saying, okay, I'm going to diligently, get myself set up so that the rest of your career is lighter. I
Mm,
mean, it's really
yes. Yeah.
well, as we are coming up against the clock here,
Yeah.
you have an amazing freebie,
Mhm.
amazing quiz. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So this is the hybrid sales 5-minute assessment. It's going to take you like 5 minutes. I think there's like 14 questions on there. And I will have Judy put the link in the show notes for you. But this assessment, it just will help you if you are a field sales rep or you're doing door-to-door sales. This will really help you to understand where you're at, how many customers, maybe how many lines you sell, things like that, how often you travel, how many hours you're spending in the car, all of those things to be really understand where you're at right now and if Hybrid Sales Advantage, my training program, can help you. So it's a great tool for you to just see if this is even an option for you that it would help you.
Yeah, so good. Ladies, take that quiz. All
Yeah.
right, as we wrap up, I always like to ask my guests, is there anything that you wanted to say that you haven't said, or is there anything you want to emphasize?
Yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of the times, we are trying to do everything. We're trying to manage everything. And I think one of the biggest things that we can do is be able to just stop and think how we could do things a little bit better. Like make things, whether it's organization, maybe it's changing the way we're thinking about something. And that's something I think you've helped me with is just to, how can I make this a little bit better, a little bit more clear? And I think if we just take the time to stop and think a little bit more about that, it will really help us and maximize what we're going to be doing in the future, whatever that is, if it's a sale or whatever, to just stop and think a little bit more and how we can just be more efficient and effective in what we're doing. And
Wow.
so I think that's just something that will help, uh, whether entrepreneurs or sales reps, sales professionals. I think that would just help them a little bit more.
I love that. And it's one of those things, improve 1% every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Imagine how much further you're along year after year. Well, Dawn, thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing all those pearls of wisdom.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure thing. Listen, ladies, I know that you were wowed by this episode. And if that's the case, and I'm sure it is, and if you haven't yet written a review, will you please take a moment and do that now? We need to be bold in, sharing this out to our Christian sisters so that they understand business is godly,
Hmm.
business and service and sales is noble, and we should unrelentingly pursue it, not run from it. So please share this out. And thank you for listening. We're going to see you next time.